Hacklight, roll call, please.
Dr. Chesney?
Here.
Mr. Birchfield?
Here.
Mr. Myers?
Here.
Mr. Conley?
Here.
Mr. Stahl?
Here. Do we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda as presented?
So moved.
Support. Moved by Dr. Chesney, supported by Mr. Myers. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes 5-0-2. That moves us to Shining Stars. Dr. Gray.
It's always my favorite when we have a board meeting with this many people and they're here after a sports season. It means we were very successful, and I'm going to introduce Mr. Thompson, our athletic director, to come up and talk about our success this winter.
Thank you, Dr. Gray. Hopefully by recognizing our winter student athletes, that means we will officially begin the transition to spring sports and get this snow out of the air. But very good winter for the dogs, so we're just going to jump right into it. If we have members of our boys swim and dive team present, please come on up. So our boys swim and dive team, coached by Mr. Jason Black and Mr. Dan Ayton, continue to do great things in the pool, and that's a program that's really on the upswing. Representing us at the state finals this year, in the 200 medley relay, finishing 11th in Michigan, John Loria, Drew Panzel, Anto Etienne, Scott Spanstra, along with Nathan Kelly. In the 200 IM, Drew Panzel finished 10th and set a new BHS record. In diving, an element that contributes to our total team score for all of our meets, two excellent young men, Cade Hammond, who finished 2nd in the state of Michigan, and Mr. Scott Scrivano, who finished 11th in the state of Michigan. In the 100 free, John Loria finished 21st. In the 500 free, Remy Fisher 27th, and Scott Spanstra 35th. In the 100 back, John Loria finished 6th in the state of Michigan, which was all-state. Also, I'm going to go back up to Cade Hammond, who finished 2nd in the state. That also earns you all-state honors as well. In the 100 breast, Drew Panzel finished 10th and set a new BHS record. In the 400 free relay, finishing 21st in the state of Michigan, Scott Spanstra, John Luria, Remy Fisher, Drew Panzel, and Nathan Kelly. Our boys swim and dive team, another great successful campaign. We have members of our gymnastics team. Please come on up front and center here. So once again, Brighton Gymnastics qualified for the MHSA team finals, finished 5th in the state of Michigan. Their coach, who couldn't be with us due to a conflict this evening, longtime coach Nancy Gregory, was also the coach of the year. We have both not only team qualifiers, so I'll read off our whole team, but then we'll come back and touch about the individuals. So representing us in gymnastics this winter, Emma Courtney, Nicole Dachewski, Chuck. Did I get it right the first time? Thought I goofed it up the first time. Thanks, Nicole. Sarah Ferruzzi, Kaylee Gallatin, Caitlin LaFleche, Taylor Lethorn, Lauren Mercer, Sarah Mossett, Emma Sebastian, and Maddie Vernon made up our team that competed as a team and ended up 5th. In Division 1, representing us individually, Emma Courtney finished 15th in the vault, 26th in bars, 13th in beam, and 27th in floor, and that was good for 15th in the state of Michigan in the all-around. Sarah Mossett likewise competed at the Division 1 level in gymnastics, 29th in the vault, 6th in the uneven bars, which is all-state, 14th in beam, 32nd in floor, and earned the 11th spot in Division 1 all-around. competing at the Division II level. We have Sarah Ferruzzi on bars, who finished 13th, Lauren Mercer on beam, who finished 22nd, and Maddie Vernon, who was 40th in vault, 20th in bars, 24th in beam, 10th on floor, and the 15th best gymnast in the state of Michigan at the Division II level. So great job by these young ladies, as they always do. Congratulations. Pretty sure I saw our head girls bowling coach walk in, and I'm pretty sure I saw Natalie Klein here. So if you're here, come on up. And looks like we've got most all of our team. So girls bowling this year were not only the KLA division champs, but they also qualified for the team state finals. So it's been a little while since we've been back there, and this group got us back to the place we want to be. Ended up finishing 17th in the state of Michigan overall as a team. So I'm going to touch on those team members here. We were represented on the lanes by Haley Hale, Lauren Hertz, Natalie Klein, who was not only first team All-State, but finished third in the state of Michigan, and was a member of the Dream Team girls bowling team. So great finish by her in her senior year. Also on our team this year, Megan Staley, Rhiannon Demblerican, and Paige Winberg, and their coach was also Coach of the Year, Mr. Steve O'Harris. So great job, guys. This next group is probably not happy to see the snow going, but we have members of our boys and girls ski team present. Please come on up. I don't think I saw Coach Street. Did you guys see Coach Lundy's here? Come on, Lundy, come on up here. Our boys and girls ski team are led by Jeff Street and Mr. Phil Lundy. We're going to start on the girls' side, where we had an individual qualifier. I've known this young lady for a number of years. She competes hard at whatever she does. And that's Miss Maddie Carco. So congratulations, Maddie, on an outstanding representation of Brighton. First team All-State, finishing 9th in the slalom and 11th in GS. So our boys ski team were the KLA and MHSA regional champions, which obviously the regional champion gets you as a team to the state finals. They finished 5th in the state of Michigan, representing us on the slopes. On the boys side, Nick Barr, Max Braidwood, Patrick Horrell, Grayson Keener, Andrew Myers, Kyle Newton, James Stasel, Ian Swanson, Luke Baden, and Danny Vaughn. Congratulations to all of our students.
Thank you so much.
We're going to switch from the slopes to the mats. If we have any members of our boys wrestling team present, please come on up. So in boys boys wrestling, we had a number of individual qualifiers, and I'll run through them at the end, but representing us on the mats in an excellent fashion that brought home not only the KLA Division and Conference Championship, but the MHSA District and Regional Championship, and they were state finalists, so state runners-up in boys wrestling, just an outstanding campaign with a very, very young team. But on the mats for the dogs this year were Trent Barnes, Harley Byrne, Nick Gleis, Aiden Brown, Dane Donabedian, Colby Ford, Victor Grabowski, Joshua Greathouse, William Hart, Joe Hawks, Hunter Henneman, Eddie Homrock, Jack Ireton, Zach Johnson, Logan Karras, Nathan Quapsy, I can never get this one. Quaps, thank you, Nathan Quaps. Ben Manley, Justin Miller, Carson Plum, Ethan Prince, Ryan Chaffee, Mason Schrader, Luke Stanton, Andrew Starbowski, Grayson Stevens, Kyle Bess, Ethan Walters, and Randy Wheeler. Our individual qualifiers, we have a number of them. So we'll start with our state qualifiers. At 112 was at Ben Manley, at 135 pounds Aiden Brown, at 160 pounds Harley Byrne, and 189 pounds Grayson Stevens. Excuse me. Our state placers and our all-state kids. At 103, Mason Schrader, 125 pounds, Eddie Homrock, at 125, as well as Zach Johnson, at 140, Dane Donabedian, 145 pounds, Nick Gleis, and actually makes our 11th ever two-time state placer in program history. So a special shout out to him as he's heading off into the sunset as a senior. But also all-state, Victor Grabowski at 145, and at 215, Luke Stanton. So just a really good group of young men that worked really, really hard to represent us, and thank you for all your hard work. Great job. Which brings us to the ice. So we have members of our hockey program that are with us, and I did see Coach Mugg come in, so come on up, gentlemen. So in case you missed the headline, there was a state championship won in Brighton, and it was again back-to-back by your varsity Bulldog hockey program. So just a great job. We have great leadership under Paul Muggett and Kurt Cavisto, but I know that they would defer to our players' hard work and efforts, both on and off the ice, for what it takes to win championships. But let me introduce our hockey program to you. Sam Brennan, Preston Carlton, Kyle Kogan, Adam Conquest, who's the first team All-State in the Dream Team selection, Drew Davatilla, Jake Dembski, Big Tim Urkala, who's also a first team All-State selection again, and also a Dream Team member on this year's Dream Team. Harrison Fleming, Kate Groman, James Jets, Matt Cara. Matt was a first team All-State selection as well. Braden McDonald, Evan McDonald, Harry Newton, Robert Hegram, Nathan Pazicki, Caleb Sater, Noah Stanko, Jason Briel, and Brody White, who put on the black and orange and brought home the state championship to Brighton once again. Nice job, gentlemen.
We're just going to scooch around. Thank you.
So we've got one final group. I would tell you this is not a program that I administrate or oversee out of the athletic department, but is one that I'm very proud personally to support, as well as I'm very proud to introduce to you on behalf of Brighton High School. And I would tell you, I think our whole school, student body and staff have embraced this initiative. And I'm going to tell you, I go to a lot of sporting events each and every year. We run over 1,600 of them. But I'm going to tell you, there's nothing more special than some of the events that I've gotten to witness with our Brighton Unified team, who also brought home a state championship to Brighton. So if I could have our Brighton Unified team come out. So like any program, there's always some really good leadership. I'm going to turn it over to them, but I'll touch on two of our student leaders. You know, one of the cool things about Brighton High School is that it's a really student-centered educational learning institution. Our students really, lead the way for us. And with Project Unified, Josh Jacobson and Shane Misiak are two young men that have really stepped to the forefront in getting this embedded into our culture at Brighton, and I'm so grateful. They also have two great faculty advisors, Lisa Johnson and Jody Reneker, so I'm going to turn that over to them, and they're going to take it from here, but thank you from our hearts. Great job.
Thank you, everyone. For the sake of time, we are not going to list all the names of the people that are not here. We are over 55 strong, unified partners and athletes. So what we'll do is just announce their names and just know that we have an amazing group of students at Brighton High School that we are so proud of. So. And a big shout out, where did John go? John Thompson, for really working extra hard to develop the KLAA Unified League. So now we have other teams within our the KLA that we are playing against in all of our sports. Amy Jamie, Avery Conley, Emily Whitlow, Chloe G, Jack Crayer, Quinn Reneker, Allison Schruck, Zach Thomas, Sophie Byron. It'll be Morgan Handyside with Avery Conley, Alicia Kuznicki with Jackie Myers, and Alyssa Filer with Nick Martin. That's been very instrumental in helping Jody and I as we embark on this journey. John Crayer, one of our parent coaches, who is quite amazing. We just want to thank you.
That's going to bring us to a wrap on the winner. I'm going to circle back to ski one last time, because as I was trying to get through all the names that needed to be recognized, I left off one of my side notes. Andrew Myers, who's a member of our boys ski team that did so well for us this past winter. He was also an all-state selection, 6th in GS, and the 11th in Solemn. So I know Andrew's still back there, so just want to point that out. We've got 3 more seasons, so you can do it. But certainly on behalf of all of our student athletes, our grateful support to not only our Board of Education, our faculty and staff, but our community. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you out at some spring events.
So I'm going to let everybody know you are more than welcome to stay for this meeting. However, I'm guessing most of you are hoping that you can scoot out. So please feel free to depart, and we'll take a couple of minute break for that to occur.
Probably gonna announce it later if they do multiple things, which we just have to do. Yeah, that was one. Oh no, it wasn't. They're all like on a basketball team. Like all the kids with cerebral palsy and everything. Well, they just they play on Wednesday. It's like an actual basketball match. They just for kids with like mental and cognitive disabilities. It's like people who have Down syndrome, which are there are people that have and there are people with like cerebral palsy, with wheelchairs. All of them, they're very experienced people.
That's got it, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they are. It's just, it gives them a chance to experience what sports are actually like, you know, which I think is very fun. Sometimes you do, but
Okay, this brings us to our first call to the public this evening. Anyone who wishes to address the board, please feel free to step to the podium, state your name, address, and we ask that you limit public comment to 3 minutes.
We all go up together, or do we wait until?
You can wait. Yeah.
Joyce Howard. This turned on, or am I just not tall enough? Joyce Howard, 982 Hickory Drive, Woodridge Hills. I need to use my school teacher voice. I have passed out to people at the desk and some others, and I'll leave some on the back table here. This is the Brighton Area Women's History Roll of Honor, and this blue sheet has all the, there are over 90 women, and this is history. We just saw the future go out the door. But this, I'm bringing this to you because I want you to know how important the Brighton area schools have been through history. And you'll notice the first person on the list is Margaret Muir. She's a 1914 graduate. And Muir Middle School in Milford is named after her. The last person on the list is Colonel Karen Johnson Flood, MD, graduated in '88 from Brighton. And she went to West Point, studied medicine, and is just retiring now. And there are a number of other graduates and people that have worked for the school district. So I wanted to share the past with you, but I'm also very excited about, I'm a recovering librarian. So I have a book for the superintendent needs to share it, and Betty, I'll share it right away with Laura, because she reads faster than he does. It's called Elastic, Flexible Thinking in a Time of Change. I I want the board to understand that you have a very creative administrative team. That's unusual. Administrators aren't usually creative. This flexibility, elastic, and they talk about flexible thinking, is about creativity and how important it is. Computers can't do the kind of thinking human beings can. And you people are really working on that very hard. STEM, it started with STEM, now you've changed it to STEAM to include the arts. And creative thinking supports both science and the arts. And the computer can score better. Time's up.
No, it's
We're not like really hard and fast.
Okay. Well, anyway.
Unless you're not saying nice things.
Well, I'm very grateful to you people on the board who have continued the kind of work that we tried to do when I was on the board.
Thanks, Joyce. Okay, Mr. Storm?
So first of all, I appreciate the opportunity to stand in front of a public school board this evening. It was really touching to see the students, especially the special needs students, come through and be recognized. My mom's sister actually is very involved in Special Olympics. She was born with a very major physical deformity in her hip and has spent her entire life walking around with a shoe that's this much higher than the other one. So it was very nice to see the school board and the school recognizing those students. I also, not a coincidence, tonight it was really neat to see a former librarian here. I grew up in a small town in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, about 2,000 people. Everyone knew each other. We had little restaurants, post offices. The people would congregate at the local garage up in town. And we took a lot of pride in America and a lot of pride in our community. And one of the reasons why my wife and I moved to the school district here 3 years ago with our 8 children, 5 girls and 3 boys, is because of the strong community and the strong school district that exists here in Brighton and the leadership of the body that's in front of us this evening. My wife and I, we feel that we're active parents. We've lived in many different states in the country, out on the East Coast, Minnesota, Wisconsin, etc. And have had an opportunity to meet a lot of interesting people. I've traveled all over the world for work and have been immersed in all the different countries and cultures that exist on the face of the earth. And in our house, we feel like we're open-minded people who respect that not everyone thinks like the Storm family. But unfortunately, tonight I'm here because last night, at home in my living room with my daughter, who's 13 years old, and is a 9th grade student in Brighton High School, she had an assignment from her English teacher to identify a book that she would read for her 9th grade English class. And as a parent who wanted to spend some time with my daughter, get her off of her telephone, I offered to help her. She needed a computer. I took my work computer out of my briefcase, opened it up in the living room, and I said, "Honey, come on over and let's get going on this homework assignment." The first question I asked my daughter is, "What's the title of the book that you have to read for your English class?" And so my daughter, she mentioned that the title of her book was The Grasshopper Jungle. So I asked my daughter, what is this book about, Kara, that you're reading in your 9th grade English class? She said, "I don't know, Dad. I don't know what the book is about." I said, "Well, let's use the tool everyone has at their disposal and Google it." So I Googled Grasshopper Jungle, clicked on the book summary, and I'd like to just share with everyone here what I found after clicking on the link. Line by line, I quickly found myself, this is an email that I sent to some members of the board in the school today. Line by line, I quickly found myself questioning how, where, and by whom did my 13-year-old daughter get directed to such societal trash? How would the public school I send my daughter to each day be encouraging her to read a book that contradicts every principle and virtue supporting a strong and enduring society, especially as described earlier with West Point, completely contradicts every virtue that West Point has stood for hundreds of years. Completely contradicts every principle and virtue supporting a strong and enduring society, not to mention the handbook and rules we are told the school encourages students to follow and adhere to while at school. Smoking in alleys, gangs of bullies attacking people, stealing, a teenage boy fantasizing about having sexual relationships with his best teenage friend and his best teenage friend's teenage girlfriend, a teenage girl having another teenage boy's baby. If a person was tasked with writing a story that paints a picture of a societal structure in ruin, would the person need to add anything more perverted or disgusting than what is in this book? I'm not sure if any of you have ever had a friend or family member who has struggled in life. This past week, I had an employee at work die from a drug overdose. He was 36 years old. We spoke often about the treatment programs and counselors he worked with in his daily struggle to stay clean. None of them prescribed sympathizing with society's trash. Rather, they encouraged him to seek out friends and family who believed in a higher power, valued virtues, moral integrity, and God. After telling my 13-year-old daughter that she would need to read a different book for her assignment, I asked her if she had a different title. She said she did, and suggested I try Winger by Andrew Smith. I Googled the title and clicked on the book summary. Positive, uplifting, great moral compass, examples of being self-sufficient and encouraging? Not in the slightest. This piece of highly acclaimed literary art is about a 14-year-old white rich kid who goes to boarding school and gets. This content was actually given to my children in your school.
I understand that, but there are really little kids in here.
Miss
And
Osterman.
unfortunately, that's why I'm here.
Miss Osterman.
That's why I'm
If you
here.
are worried about the content your child is receiving, why don't you
Miss
consider the
Osterman.
other children in this room?
And that is exactly why I'm here, and it's amazing you're concerned about them and my own children.
Miss Osterman,
I
I'm going to
understand
ask you
you sent this
respectfully
letter
to
from
sit down,
Bulgaria.
please.
And they are aware of this information?
The public's not aware.
But these children don't need to be aware.
Neither
Miss
do my children.
Osterman, last
These
warning.
children are much younger.
Neither do my
Okay,
children.
we're taking a 5-minute break.
Thank you.
Thank you.
5-minute break would be great.
Please. Thank you. 5-minute break, 5-minute recess. Thank you.
You sure can. I'll give you a copy of that. Sure. Sure. Well, you can have that. Ma'am, it's an email, but I'd be happy to provide it for you by email.
This is really inappropriate. You don't have exact sources. To tell what it's about. Is this a fiction book?
Ma'am, all I know
Is it a fiction book?
absolutely it's a fiction book.
And so they're presenting something that is awful and not promoting.
Okay. Mr. Storm, we do try to limit call to the public to 3 minutes. So if you can summarize, and if you'd like to stick around after the meeting, and we would be happy to have some further discussion, or we do have second call to the
So
public.
I have
as
just
well.
this paragraph here and then I'll close.
Okay, thank you.
This piece of highly acclaimed literary art is about a 14-year-old white rich kid who goes to boarding school and gets to live at Opportunity Hall. And it's not the type of opportunity I encourage my children to seek out. Rather, this Opportunity Hall is for troublemakers. Does he get assigned to a room with a more senior mentor who helps him prepare for adulthood by setting an example of respect, responsibility, and caring for self and others? No, he gets assigned to a room with someone he despises. At 14 years old, he's invited to play poker late into the night, drink beer, and get drunk. At 14 years old, he also gets to take walks with other teenage girls and disclose he would be a great girlfriend or a great boyfriend for any of the other young boys at the boarding school. The young boy goes to study hour and finds himself making out with his friend's teenage girlfriend. Anger and frustration ensue, along with people smashing their heads off the street and blood gushing everywhere. This 14-year-old boy then flies to Seattle with his teenage girlfriend and her family. Murder breaks out. One teenage boy stabs another teenage boy. One teenage boy confides to another teenage boy that he dated the teenage murderer's brother. And of course, the gay teenage boy was sent away for being gay. Soon love triangles begin between these teenage boys and girls, from drunken parties to outing gay 14-year-old teenagers. This piece of literature ends with the following. One of the main character's friends is found stripped, naked in the woods, bound to a tree, and murdered. The key takeaway, when you grow up, instead of sex, almost everything is about love. That's from the book. As a concerned parent, I asked my daughter who at school would suggest these two books to her. She said it was her school librarian. I am writing tonight to ask if you could provide me with a way to contact the high school librarian. I would like to confirm that these books are in fact in our public library. I go on to reference the policy of the Brighton Public Schools. The Brighton Area School District supports the state of Michigan in requiring the teaching of core democratic values and constitutional principles. These include, but are not limited to, truth, justice, equality, liberty, diversity, the common good, the rule of law, and individual rights. We intend that students will learn respect, responsibility, and caring for self, others, and the environment. Further, we expect all students and adults to practice honesty, fairness, and responsible citizenship, which is essential to being good community members. So out of respect for time, I won't read the balance of my email, but I would just close with the following. I feel as disturbed as the woman who came up a moment ago. I feel as disturbed as the participant that came and asked for the sources of this book. I would be more than happy to provide anyone who would like a copy of what I've just read in detail. I feel very strongly that the Brighton School District is one of the best school districts in the state of Michigan. We are very fortunate to have strong leadership in this district, with the administration, with the board, and with parents and students together. These books shouldn't be in our library, in our school district. They do not belong in the library for people to read. They are societal trash. Thank you.
Hey everybody, so I guess I'm supposed to come up here and say my name, my address. So my name's Dean Ditto. Nice to see you all. Nice to see you again. Recognize some of the faces here. I've coached about a half dozen of your kids in football or wrestling. Go Bulldogs. I live at, for the record, 11211 Sand Crane Way. That's technically South Line. It's organically Brighton School District, but it's actually the furthest south you can get and still be organically Brighton School District. So could have gone school of choice, gone to South Line School, a little bit closer, but you know, Bulldogs through and through. You cut my vein and I'll bleed black out of one arm and orange out of the other. So I'm here to talk about something that's maybe a little bit, there's a quote that you have from the book, and whether I agree or disagree with that book being in the library. When you grow up, things become about love, right? Can we all agree on that? When you grow up, things become about love. And it's for the love of our children that the members of the board serve. And it's for the love of our children in our school district that we're here tonight to talk about what's important to us, right? Can I get a heck yeah? Okay, I'm sorry, some of the folks that know me know that it's a challenge for me to be up here and not drop profanity. So bear with me while I self-censor and talk a little bit slow. So last board meeting in March, there was a young lady that came up here to talk about something with regards to school safety and school security. And so I wanted to kind of give just a brief update on that. There's been some concerned parents that have been getting together, talking about ways that we can make our schools safer, things that we can do as parents and in the PTO, understanding the budget constraints that the board operates under. And one of the things that we came up with, it's a quick hitter, it's the proverbial low-hanging fruit, is to provide kits and training. So these would be actual trauma kits and training into each of the schools. So through some kind of fundraising mechanism that we have yet to determine, we would purchase a trauma kit and then provide training to members of the school that would be more than just the boo-boos and Band-Aids. So if somebody falls down and skins their knee on the playground, that's awesome. You know, I do believe that it's a true statement, all the schools right now have external defibrillators. That's awesome. What happens if somebody opens up a vein? What happens if, God forbid, somebody walks into the school and shoots somebody and then shoots themselves? You still have to wait for an ambulance to arrive. You know, ABC, airway, breathing, circulation, stop the bleeding, start the breathing. Those are the most important things, and it's a very, very quick clock that runs down as somebody bleeds out. And without the ability to stop that bleeding, without the ability to protect the wound and make sure that that person survives until the first responders gets there, you can very easily find yourself in a situation where somebody dies unnecessarily, unless we have those types of trauma kits there. So just a heads up, and I know I'm on the clock, I'll end up, we're working on it. If you're interested, come find us, come talk with us. We're not talking about putting guns in schools, we're just talking about giving teachers the tools that they need, teachers and administrators in the schools, the tools that they need to respond more effectively to a situation, to provide trauma medicine on a very simple level to teachers and students that may need it. Thanks. Right on time.
Hi, my name is Sue Ellen Aikens. I live at 702 State Street in Brighton. Proud Brighton parent of 4 Brighton students, 2 graduated. Books were the only type of receptacle we stored. A lot of things we were afraid we might forget. There is nothing magical in them at all. The magic is only in what books say, how they stitch the patches of the universe together into one garment for us. Of course, you couldn't know this. Of course, you still can't understand what I mean when I say this. You are intuitively right. That's what counts. 3 things are missing. Number 1, do you know why books such as this are so important? Because they have quality. And what does that word quality mean? To me, it means texture. This book has pores. It has features. This book can go under the microscope. You'd find life under the glass, streaming past in infinite profusion. The more pores, the more truthfully recorded details of life per square inch you can get on a sheet of paper, the more literary you are. That's my definition anyway. Telling detail, fresh detail. The good writers touch life often. The mediocre ones run a quick hand over her. The bad ones rape her and leave her for the flies. So now do you see why books are hated and feared? They show the pores in the face of life. The comfortable people want only wax moon faces, poreless, hairless, expressionless. We are living in a time when flowers are trying to live on flowers instead of growing on good rain and black loam. Even the fireworks, for all their pet prettiness, come from the chemistry of the earth. Yet somehow we think we can grow, feeding on flowers and on fireworks, without completing the cycle back to reality. Do you know the legend of Hercules and Antitheus, the giant wrestler, whose strength was incredible so long as he stood firm on the earth? But when he was held rootless in midair by Hercules, he perished easily. If there isn't something in this legend for us today, in this city, in our time, then I am completely insane. Well, we have the first thing I said we needed: quality, texture of information.
Does anyone else wish to address the board in the first call to the public? Okay, that will close first call to the public, and we will move to the superintendent report. Dr. Craig.
About 4 or 5 things tonight. Thank you, President Birchfield. First, a really exciting topic, our new science curriculum update. I'm going to kick it over to Dr. Sir.
Thank you. I'm going to invite our science study group members who are presenting this evening to come up to the microphone and podium and prepare to share with the board. Just to give you a sense of where we're going with this without stealing any of their presentation. This evening you're going to receive a brief yet informative overview of the process and the 2 selections for recommendations for K-5 science and then 6, 7, 8 science for next fall. And then at the next board meeting, we'll be bringing you a formal for future action request, and then in the 2 board meetings from now, hopefully receive your final approval so that we can put things in motion for this coming fall. So I'm going to turn this over right now. Mr. Jeff Isley is our principal of Hilton. He's also working with K-12 science curriculum the last couple of years. He's going to present, and then we also have Wendy O'Keefe here, who's our science instructional coach, and the team members from the science study group. Okay, Jeff?
Thank you, Laura. I'm here with our district science coach, Wendy O'Keefe, and our science study group to present science updates and programming recommendations for the elementary and middle school levels. For the past 3 years, the Brighton Area Schools Science Study Group has been collaborating with teachers, administrators, parents, members of the community, and higher education to continue the learning around the Michigan science standards and the next generation science standards. They've made recommendations for the vertical alignment of science programming and continue to craft a vision to move forward with these new science standards. Their support of extensive district pilot work, which included 36 teachers and 9 different curricular offerings, has led to the K science curriculum being proposed tonight. Our district science coach, Wendy O'Keefe, has been responsible for guiding this group through the process, and I have to say she's done a marvelous job. Before I turn it over to her, I'd like to thank her and all the others for their time and effort in this important work, and also have anybody who participated in that, please raise their hand so everybody knows who's involved in this project. Wendy?
Thank you, Jeff. Good evening, everyone. It's with great pleasure that I come tonight to share some science updates with you, as well as to present some programming recommendations for our K-5 and 6-8 programming. Good. We're already one side ahead. All right. So I'd like to share with you first, as Jeff talked about the purpose and then the makeup of the science study group. I'd like to share with you our BAS Science Study Group vision statement. And this is a piece of information. It's a tool that we use at every science study group meeting to help ground our work. We began crafting this in January of 2016, and as many of you know, a vision statement isn't something that comes along quickly. It does take time, and it takes some engagement, and it takes some thinking. So it's again one of our guiding tools that we visited at each of our science study group meetings. And this is the only thing I'm going to read off the slide tonight, okay? The scientifically literate Brighton Area Schools graduate is a critical thinker, able to apply scientific principles to solve real-world problems. Possessing innate curiosity and sense of wonder, graduates persevere in using evidence and reasoning. They investigate phenomena as well as evaluate scientific claims. Furthermore, this graduate clearly expresses ideas and embraces the value of reflection, revision, and trial and error while making sense of the real world. And as we read this in Science Study Group, this is the moment in time where we all get goosebumps. We choose one word that we're going to really focus on and that we're thinking around, and we have a conversation around that to guide our group and to ground our thinking for our meeting. This is our implementation timeline. Laura and I sat down in the fall of 2015, and we wanted to form a snapshot of where we wanted to head, or where we thought we wanted to head in science education for our science study group as we formed the group, and as we prepared to really align our thinking and move forward with the next generation science standards as the state of Michigan was looking to adapt. So again, this is a snapshot of where we've been. Let's see, back in 2015-16, where we are, and where we hope to head in the future as we plan to implement the new science standards. A few things I'd like to highlight there is...
Quick question.
Sure.
NGSS, remind.
The next generation science standards. So that's the founding, and that's the research document and the founding tool that the Michigan science standards are based upon.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
So again, we began our journey 3 years ago, and our focus was the why. Why are we doing this work, and what is that research, those next generation science standards, and all the pieces and parts of them through the appendices? What are they, and what are we supposed to do with them? So we spent a lot of time doing work around them, reading different articles and different texts and so forth. And we also conducted a district needs assessment, and to figure out where are we in science, and where do we hope to be in 5 years and then 10 years from now. So with that, we ended that first year with a vendor day, and that's a point in time where we tried to rally up all the best science programming that we knew that was out there, and pull it together and invite some of those vendors in and talk to us in terms of members of the science study group, as well as teachers in the district about science programming and anything that might be interesting to us as we move along into our search for the best possible science programming for Brighton area schools that aligns with our vision statement. So with that, we continued into the pilot process in the year 2016 and 17, and we also continued piloting this school year as well, and we're wrapping up most of those pilots. We're pretty much wrapped up at this point in time. We do move forward at this point also with a full pilot review. So we look at the programming through the lens of a couple important documents. I'm going to pause on that for a quick moment. I want you to take a quick note on 2017-18. If you can look at the fourth bullet point down. Our goal is to purchase aligned science programming for 6-8 and to move forward with that by the end of this school year, hopefully. And I also noticed that we're going to be finalizing the 9-12 high school adoption over the course of the next school year. So in 18-19, we're going to be ready to move forward, hopefully, with some programming for the high school. So I just wanted to make that clear if you're wondering why the high school wasn't included in tonight's grade bands. So with that, what were those science pilots? In the elementary level, you can see the top 4 bullet points outline the pilots that we looked at over the course of the elementary programming, the K-5 grade bands. And in the middle school program, you can see we looked at 5 programs there as well. And again, all these programs are vetted through the science study group pilot review process. Julie's going to bring around to you the 3 dimensions of the next generation science framework. And you can see right here, you know, this symbol is super important, and it's very meaningful to the work that we do in science education and in our science study group as well. These are the 3 dimensions of the framework that we're going to be referring to frequently this evening through the rest of my time and then into the elementary and middle band presentations. The 3 dimensions of the framework, you notice that they're color-coded, and when you get your handout, you'll also notice these 3 colors on your handout. And just to give you a heads up, they are the blue section, the science and engineering practices, the orange section, the backside, the disciplinary core ideas, and then the green section, the cross-cutting concept. And the And then the disciplinary core ideas, that's your scientific principles. That's the science content. That's the meat and potatoes of the why behind why we study science. The cross-cutting concepts, those are the relationships between the domains of science that we see that also interconnect back into student learning around those disciplinary core ideas. And then the science and engineering practices, the blue, those are the behaviors that we see in scientists and engineers as they look to explore our natural world. So again, the 3 dimensions of the standards. It's a quick reference handout that you have in front of you. So that's one of our guiding tools, again, as we look to vet a program. And also, too, we use the EQUIP rubric. And Julie just passed along. This is a 14-page rubric that was constructed by Achieve, the Next Generation Science Standard Writers, as well as the National Science Teachers Association, the NSTA. And this rubric is very comprehensive, and it's a wonderful tool that measures programming alignment to the next generation standards and the degree to which phenomena-based instruction and the 3-dimensional approach, and the 3 colors, are honored in terms of the science teaching with regard to a specific program. And EQUIP stands for Educators Evaluating the Quality of Instructional Products. So again, those pilot programs that we looked at over the last 2 school years. And in this rubric, we have 3 categories that we are mindful of. And the first one is Next Generation Science 3-dimensional lesson design. And then the Next Generation Science Standards Instructional Supports is the second category that we're mindful of. And then monitoring the Next Generation Science Standards student progress piece. So it's very comprehensive, and it's very extensive. We're really pleased with the rubric, although I'm going to be completely honest with you, and my science study group members can attest to this. It was very daunting at first. We looked at this 14-page document, and we looked at it as kind of a monster. But I will tell you, for the programs that really rose above the others in terms of really showing us a high quality of scientific teaching and learning based on the next generation science standards and the demands and the rigor that's necessary to employ them in the classroom with students, filling out the rubric for them was almost a joy. It was very pleasurable, and I will tell you that I didn't even say that first. A couple of the members were like, wow, this was great. I can't believe how easy this day went, even though my brains hurt after we went through and vetted the whole process with the program. So again, a tedious tool at times, but completed with ease for our recommended programming. And with that, I'm going to turn over to our elementary representatives on our science study group panel and our group, Chris Cody, Pam Wickman, and Sandy Caballero, as they look into our elementary science programming recommendation.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. My name is Chris Cody, and hi everyone. I am a fourth grade teacher at Hawkins Elementary, and presenting with me today is Pam Wickman and Sandy Caballero. And I am very excited to be standing up here. Well, not really, but but I have so much passion for what has went into this, and the result of what has come out of this really does give me goosebumps. We have put a lot of time into this, and I feel really good about where we're at. I was actually one of the people who piloted all 4 of those programs, and knowing where we started and where we are today really gives me goosebumps. So I feel very proud to be part of this team. The Phenomenal Science team recommends Phenomenal Science for adoption consideration using the equipped rubric. That's the rubric that Wendy was just talking about. Phenomenal Science earned the highest rating, and it really did fall into every single one of those categories. It was incredible. When we were looking through that, and I can say that didn't happen with the other programs that we had looked at, so that was really exciting to see that it just continuously fit in there. And so that's why going through that 14-page process was exciting at that time, which indicates an example of high-quality NGSS design. And Pam is going to go through the next slide for us.
From the science study group and the pilot teachers, just as Wendy was saying, wanted to make sure that what we proposed to you would be something that supports the 3 dimensions of science learning, but also is phenomenal based. And so Phenomenal Science had both of those, but what was really nice, and it was clear to us as we evaluated our science vision statement, it was very closely aligned naturally to that. So that was a very nice thing for us to see. Phenomenal Science is set up in instructional cycles based in a unit, and each instructional cycle has a focused question that is kind of centered around an overarching phenomena. Each of these phenomena are age appropriate, they're student centered and engaging, and they connect as well with Michigan phenomena that they might experience in their everyday life. Phenomenal Science gives many opportunities for them to experiment with science engineering practices at all levels, not just at the upper elementary, but also at the lower elementary. And another very strong piece to this was their approach. It's called the 5 E's, and that is engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate. And while they are engaging in these things, they are learning to make claims about science. They are learning to gather evidence and to build reasoning skills. And most importantly, like gather evidence for arguments. And that's something hard for an elementary student to do. So with all of these, and it's a circular process, that it allows them to continue to come back and revisit their thinking and revise their thinking and improve their thinking, and then collaborate with others to get their ideas as well. This program has student evidence for learning built into it through formative and summative assessments. And I think most importantly, and why we are proposing Phenomenal Science, is that it is centered around students and engaging phenomena for them. It is student-driven,
and through this 5E process. And it is state-driven, and it aligns very closely to the Michigan science standards, as well as the creators of this program are all educators at various levels, high levels, elementary, so they have feedback from everybody. And so we feel that this is a very vested program that we would want our students to participate in.
Good evening. I am going to take everything, not everything, but I'm going to take some of what Wendy, Pam, and Christina talked about and summarize it in a very sort of nutshell type of package and go over the strengths of phenomenal science at the elementary level for you in 6 brief points. So we feel that the phenomenal science programming strengths are that it is grounded in clear, authentic phenomena that encourages student curiosity, wonder, and investigation. Secondly, we feel that it offers a very high degree of student engagement and enjoyment. Third point, it promotes deep and authentic thinking. The fourth point is that it is the three dimensions of the NGSS are clearly defined in the unit goals and very easy for teachers to pinpoint, get an overview, and teach directly to. The fifth point is that there is a continuous revision process. At this point, the unit that I'm currently teaching has gone through 3 revisions. The people that are designing it are very on top of teacher feedback, and they are improving it on a regular basis. And all of the improvements make sense and are very direct and thoughtful. The last point is that it is authored by Michigan scientists and educators. And we feel that this is very important because sometimes things that we in the classroom get are designed by textbook makers that may not be experts in the field. And we feel that this is a very, very important point. So with that, I'm going to pass this over to Christina. She's going to summarize the elementary.
We'll wrap it up. This is the phenomenal science cost structure. And one of the best things about this program is there's no textbook fee. It's online. Phenomenal science training, we're looking at professional development. It includes leadership training. It includes 5 days K-5 staff training, materials, and release time. So estimated training is about just joking, $25,000. Phenomenal science material kits range from $200 to $600, and that is about $163,000. However, the great part about this is that cost can be reduced significantly if we build our own kits. Science support teachers, so it's 2 grant or district funded teachers with release time, and that cost is to be determined. And grade level learning labs and ongoing support. The initial startup cost is $188,000, but as you can see, building our own kits really will make a big difference in that. And then our yearly support costs moving forward would be to refurbish those kits. It's estimated about $40 to $80 per kit, so about $5,000. And that is it for elementary.
Thank you, Chris, and Pam, and Sandy. And we're ready to move on to our middle school science programming recommendation. And I'd like to honor the names of the PEP review team members: Melissa Caldwell, Roy Robertson, Stacy Kiefer, Barbara Emily, Julie Malia, myself, Carolyn Van Camel, and Sarah Barnes. And the middle school programming recommendation, the MyStar, not to be confused with our grade book programming MyStar, the Michigan Science Teacher Assessment Reform. PEP review team recommended MyStar for adoption consideration. Using the quick rubric, MyStar earned the highest rating, which indicates another example of high-quality, next-generation science standard design.
Hello, my name is Julie Malia. I teach 8th grade science at Scranton. I was part of the review process, and I'd like to talk about MyStar curriculum. It does honor the 3-dimensional approach, and more significantly than any of the other pilot programs, I worked on several other units from several other sources as well. It provides a coherent student-centered learning experiences. Each lesson scaffolds upon the previous skills learned. Students design a solution to a real-world problem. We're studying natural hazards right now, and the question the students are working on is how can science and technology reduce the impact of natural hazard? It's also Michigan-centered, and yet it does look at the nation as a whole. So looking at hazards that are beyond what you would see here in Michigan. The most exciting part of the MyStar for me in terms of when we did the equip rubric and when we evaluated was the assessment piece. There was no other program that we looked at that was as thorough when it came to formative and summative assessment already built into the program. So their structure is to use this sort of pentagon, and you start with, each lesson starts with an anchoring experience. The students uncover their ideas, share their ideas, connect your ideas back to the original question, share your progress, and then it repeats for each of the subsequent units within the overarching structure. The nice part with these little arrows in between is designed so that your students don't achieve the gotta-have checklist, so they haven't uncovered all of the content that's necessary for that mastery of that subject. You go back into this cycle wherever it is you need as a teacher. So it gives you a structure, but freedom to tailor it to what your students are actually doing in the classroom, which is very exciting. Okay, so it is consistent with the NGSS and MSS. The Michigan Science Standards are looking at specific content directed at Michigan issues, invasive species, things like that, that we would have to find outside places and sources in the other curriculum we looked at. That's already there. Again, it engaged in a phenomenon, real world, and it was very accessible for teachers. It gave us structure for teachers to learn the next generation science standards, as well as how to learn about this particular curriculum. So you're building a foundation in the science standards, as well as what a curriculum should look like in this. It's also authored by Michigan scientists and educators. It comes out of Michigan Tech University. They are people, they're scientists, and they're available when we've called them with issues or problems. They are very supportive and very open to letting teachers participate in a conversation around how these standards look. It encourages lively discussion among students. Students did a flood model where they did a simulation, and then they had to just try to predict where in the future they would see such things happen. And students were very engaged and interested in that particular part. So, ta-da, the big moment. What does this cost? So, there is no textbook fee. The moment a textbook is printed, it becomes obsolete. And so, I think that might be one of the things that is most attractive about this particular program. It includes leadership training, 6 to 8 days for grades 6 to 8 staff training materials, and release time. The estimated cost is about $18,000. MyStar materials, we're asking for Chromebook carts for each science room. With that, we're also asking for News ELA subscriptions. A News ELA subscription is $6,000, but it covers the entire building. So every teacher outside of science will also get opportunities to use that materials. News ELA is a current reading source that gives children an opportunity to level their reading at their own pace, which gives you, we have access to a variety of data points on student reading levels. They can choose and we can guide them to the best fit reading, so the content is available to them. Nonfiction reading being a really important part of what we do in science. So that simulations would be free. Materials and kits range to be about $80,000. The estimated cost is $95,400. The initial startup cost $13,400. And then yearly support, we use refurbished kits, approximately $8,000. The News ELA would be a yearly subscription of $6,000. MyStar annual subscription is $3,500. The estimated yearly support is $17,500. They encourage teachers with their 2-year subscription to continue to download any materials they give you into your own Google Drive, giving you ownership to change and modify. Many of the curriculum had an online component where they had their own digital platform. Here in Brighton, we're very fortunate. We have Google Classroom. We have Clever as an access source for kids to use one login. This provides sort of a great blanket that is user-friendly and does what we already need it to do, rather than trying to learn an online platform. And do you have any questions? Yes? I hope you say no. Can I have a puppy? No, go ahead.
No, testing, where's it been
So I was participated in a training workshop in East Lansing for, was it 3 days? 3 days? 3 days.
Why don't you talk about the schools they're using right now? Oh, sure. So there's a plethora of schools that are using both phenomenal science and as well as MyStar Science in the state of Michigan. I actually can provide you with a map that will kind of highlight all of them with stars. Phenomenal Science is primarily based out of the Bay City area, and so with their field tests, and these programs have both been field tested in schools for the last 3 to 5 years, depending on the field testing situation for that school. So Mid-Michigan area is our heart and soul of phenomenal science, and then Kalamazoo Public Schools as well. And then for MyStar, we have Kalamazoo Public Schools as well as many schools in the northern Michigan area. And MyStar Science right now too is looking to be adopted with Oakland schools and our Ann Arbor Public Schools, as well as phenomenal science in both of those school systems as well. We are moving through this process. It's next on our list. We were having some conversations over the last couple of weeks about going out and doing some site visits to see these lessons in action in the classroom. But I'll also tell you that we've seen many great lessons in action in the classroom here in Brighton area schools as well.
I would ask, when you're touring this, I'd like to have a scorecard. When you talk to their educators, talk to the people who do evaluations, and come back the next time with that scorecard from the institution to currently run it. I like the presentation, I think it looks good, but I would still like to see some improvement in the history of the programs.
Sure.
It sounds good to me.
And also, if it would be appropriate to add into that, I know I can easily access the phenomenal science data that they have on their homepage. They've done a lot of surveying throughout the years. We can also provide that.
That's the sales tool. I want to hear from the field that's actually using them.
These are actually from the pilot teachers, the data on their Google form.
Good, that'd be fine then.
All right, will do. Will do. Was there another question?
I had a question just from a implementation standpoint, from logistics. As I understand it, the MyStar Science is geared towards the 6 through 8.
Yes.
And the phenomenal science is K through 5. Obviously, with our district, we've got multi that falls within both of those.
Right.
How does that get addressed where you have the crossover with both in one school?
Multi is very near and dear to my heart. I spent my first 18 years teaching math and science there. So I've been really thinking around how we do encapsulate it's actually the 3-5 upper L grade band, so the 5th grade there and the 6th grade being part of the middle band, which is mostly over at Scranton. And so what we have looked at so far is the PD piece with phenomenal science. It's 5 days worth of professional development. So 5th grade PD would come in the form of the elementary and the phenomenal science PD timeframe. And then the 6th grade professional development, and then they would be able to vertically align with the 3-5 educators that would be a part of that PD as well for phenomenal. The 6th grade then would become a part of the middle band, as the NGSS refers to middle school levels as. The middle band professional development with MyStar, and then we'd be able to vertically align as best we could within that 6th, 7th, and 8th grade level. And then back to multi, so we have just with the groupings and the assessment work that happens at multi, we would still be able to continue our assessment literacy grouping and work around the new programming in the building through our curriculum meetings that happen once a month, sometimes twice a month. So we're trying to cover all bases there, but yeah, that does create a little bit of a divide based on how we structure our buildings for sure.
Right, because I mean, obviously there's some districts that may be doing this that have a 6, 7, and 8 middle school, and so you have that natural separation, which we don't have, so.
Yes. And what we're finding with the structure of both of these programs, through that 5 E's approach, and then through also the MyStar instructional design for the unit structure, they're very similar. So in terms of the pedagogy behind both of those and the instructional routines that will be utilized in K-5 as well as 6-8, they're very similar. And so we're expecting that to become, when students become more familiar with them and we roll this out, we're expecting that to become commonplace. And although I'm sure that there might be some wrinkles in the road along the way through that 5-6 transition, we're not expecting it to be quite significant.
How long is the program of this? I'm thinking kind of cost-wise. How long does something like this stay in your district? In other words, is this something you're thinking about using for 2, 3, 4 years? Is it something you think will be implemented because it updates and you can get online over the last few indefinitely? What is the thought plan on that? Because I do see more costs as teachers leave and new have to be trained.
Sure.
I'm licensing about lumping internet, all private. There's days when it's not working so good and slow, and all those kind of things. How does that factor in?
There will be cost structures involved. We've been kicking around that whole idea, and I've been actually having some conversations with administrators about let me know who might be coming into science and so forth, and look at pilot teachers that are trained and then other teachers that might not be trained in the grade levels and so forth for STAR in particular. So that's definitely a consideration. In terms of, they have a 2-year structure, so it's $500 to maintain a subscription for the teachers, but like Julie did mention, the whole idea of Google Drive, all documents are downloadable into our own personal Google Drive through Michigan Tech. They want to keep the cost structure as low as possible. It's actually funded by the Dow Foundation, and their goal is to get NGSS-aligned 3-dimensional instruction that's phenomenon-based out into our schools and make it be as accessible as possible. And likewise, Phenomenal Science, they're also a foundation-funded program. Their premise is also the same. So in terms of keeping it low cost and as low of a cost to districts as possible. So in the future, I mean, in terms of, I will tell you, NGSS aligned programming, there's new things coming up more and more every single day. We've had plenty of conversations and lots of teachers, we've been really trying to be as open as possible because we don't want to be remiss and not pilot a program that really could be the best program for us here in Brighton area schools. So we've been trying to be open, we've been trying to get our hands on anything that we possibly could to pilot it. And in terms of its longevity in the classroom, I would say 3 to 5 to 7 years is my predictive outlook in terms of what that might look like. Also knowing that the standards were adopted in the next generation science standards were adopted in 2013. And then Michigan adopted the Michigan Science Standards in November of 2015. So with that, there's programming that's popping up, just like the high school situation right now. There's a couple of really good programs, they're just not ready for release yet. So I predict 3 to 5 to 7 years, and a bit of a gap there, but if something were to come out that would better serve our needs here in Brighton area schools, and it would be fiscally responsible for us to move into that programming, I think we would be remiss if we didn't.
How long do we hang on to the same book that is basically updated and revised? I agree with that statement.
Yes.
As if many things are. But how long do we hang on to that before we make changes? Or this would be almost instantaneous all the time, live?
And I will tell you too, most of the programming, if I don't want to take too much more time here, but most of the programming that we piloted, aside from TCI Bring Science Alive, that was a textbook-based program, and then the Portland Science Dimensions in the middle band, everything else was a digital platform that we looked at, and that continued the idea of continual updates, as Julie had mentioned, because of the idea of textbooks obsolete. It's like a car, you pull off a lot, you lose value, right? Textbooks, once it's printed, it might lose some of its value. And so with that in mind, all the other programs outside of those 2 that I just mentioned are a digital platform that has continual updates to give you the best possible experience. And some of them don't even recommend that you print their teacher lesson plan documents because they're continually updated.
I think Wendy also emphasized the point that this is relatively new, the standards are relatively new, especially the Michigan adoption. And because of that, we really are an early adopter of new curriculum materials, but we also were sorely in need of new curriculum materials. So as we go out and look for the scorecard, people have been using Phenomenal Science, we might find somebody who's been using it for a year, or we're going to talk to people who are piloting it like we did. And I think, we'd be happy to do that and see what we find. In fact, we know of districts, I believe Heartland's piloting it next year, but we know of districts that have been working with it this year. We'd be happy to talk with them. But I think the most critical part of this presentation is the care that they took in designing this review of this material, to look at our needs. In all the years I've been doing this, I don't think I've seen such a thorough, comprehensive, taking it apart, seeing what we need to do, put a plan in place, and stick with it. And all these pilots have been going on for 2 years, off and on, but with that equipped rubric, and they held themselves to, let's only get the highest quality material we can find, and that's what's come to the top. So I'm very excited and very proud of the work that the whole study group did, and under certainly Wendy's leadership, she sees the path.
Thank you. Any other questions? Dave?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. First off, just a second, just a wonderful job that you did. I mean, it's phenomenal that Ms. O'Keefe, you and your team put together, did this research, put together the programs. That is exemplary.
Thank you.
Some questions that I have, and this is related to, there's, the blue, the green, and the orange, the content, the cross-cutting, and the practice. Okay. And it seems to me that we still only know how to test the orange. And so is there some way of evaluation that's built into these programs so that we are testing process as well as
Yes.
content?
Yes, so the whole idea of three-dimensional assessment is up and coming in our state as we speak right now. And as I'm sure you're all probably aware, our MSTEP science testing it's on schedule to be fully operational in spring of 2020. And so with that, as we look at the rubric, that whole assessment piece, that was the third section of the equipped rubric. And as we mentioned, both of these programs scored the highest in the assessment category that any of the other programs could score. And so we were super excited about that because that was the weakest link, that assessment piece, as we've been in during this process of piloting programs over the last 2 years. And so the formative and summative assessments in both phenomenal science as well as MyStar are explicit. They're explicitly stated, and they're three-dimensionally constructed.
Okay.
And so when we look at MSTEP in 2020, again, those questions, and we've got samples I can provide you with on the MDE website for the grade levels 5th, 8th, and 11th grade, the juniors, that will show you what a three-dimensionally assessed item cluster they're called. Those disciplinary core ideas are kind of clustered together by topic and relevance. And so they're clustered with at least one science engineering practice and or cross-cutting concept, and they're deep. In terms of the levels of thinking, when we think of the depth of knowledge involved, Norman Webb's pie chart, right? We're in level 3 and 4. We're not just in the literal level of application, levels 1 and 2 of Webb's chart.
Okay.
So it's going to be a bit of a transition for us as teachers and for students as we work to embrace the idea of three-dimensional assessment, and both of these programs scaffold that process.
Okay. Second question, I've got 3.
Great.
Second question, it seems like in both programs, Phenomenal Science and MyStar, that the high-cost item was in both cases the kits. Do the kits have value to a science curriculum, even if the programs of Phenomenal Science and the programs of MyStar go away?
Yes, they do. I will tell you that for both programs, again, the whole cost structure piece, their premise was to keep costs low. I've been able to go to the dollar store and get a lot of these pilot kits formed for teachers. Sandy and company over at Corning, her whole grade level team did a 2nd grade pilot for a phenomenal science shifting sands unit, and for 4 sections, we were able to get all the supplies that we needed for the unit for all 4 sections for, it was like $150-ish, $175.
Okay, so
that was-
and this is the building your own kits part of it?
This is the building your own kits part, yes.
Okay.
And then for MyStar, because we have great fully stocked science labs and our 6-8 band, we've got plenty of durable good there. So again, but mostly less chemicals that we might need. Chemicals get into a bit of an expense, especially for those physical science units. But less the chemical piece in terms of consumable items. Most of the time, not all of the time, but most of the time, it's an easily accessible item that we can run out to the dollar store or somewhere to purchase that at a low cost.
Okay. And then the third question is, and this, I think you stated this, but have we piloted both of these programs
yes.
in the small before saying, let's go in the big?
Yes.
I mean, that's what's going on tonight. You're saying we tried these out.
Yes.
They are successful. They are aligned with our curriculum. They are aligned with our approach. They're aligned with the state curriculum. Now let's go from a pilot program in 1 or 2 classrooms and blow it out across the grade level.
Yes. And I'll tell you, with MyStar, we've piloted that so far in 6 different classrooms between 6th grade and 8th grade. And then with Phenomenal Science, that's been piloted last year, as well as this year with the updated units. That's been piloted in at least 20 classrooms, K-5.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Is the duration of those classes is a full year or full semester?
In most cases, it was a unit.
Okay, tell me what that is.
So for Phenomenal Science, for example, there are 4 units for 2nd grade. And so the units are based on typically, they're integrated with the domains of science for like earth, life, and physical science, as well as science and applied technology. But on this, there's a unit of study that lasts approximately anywhere from 10 to 12 to 14 weeks. And so we have 4 of them. So one might be focused more on shifting sand, so that's like the earth or systems or processes. One might be focused on energy, for example.
So you have prototype, you've been running these classes at
Yes.
that level. So, and again, we have 6,000 students in our district. So my concerns, which I always look at, is from the top to all the way through experience and your expertise, you're telling me that this program will cover all of our students and not leave anybody out.
Absolutely, and that's one of the premises of the Next Generation Science Standards, all students. And there's a whole appendice in the standards on equity, and it's very much honored for these two programs.
As your technician on the board, I've been told a few things like that before. I trust your wisdom, like I said, I didn't realize you did.
I can probably attest to this. My science are your pilot teachers.
I have students working at a high level. I'm piloting the MyStar program. I have students working together in mixed ability groups, and the students will come together periodically and have brainstorm questions that go back to that driving question. Now that we've seen this, what else do we need to know? It's pretty remarkable, the variety of questions that the children are coming up with across ability level. And they're all engaged, and they're able to share their ideas, and I'm seeing a better quality work because of the discussion that's becoming available to those kids. And they're actually driving the curriculum, which is, when you're piloting something, you're wondering, where am I going with this? Their questions, and I keep listing their questions, they're going there. Like, they're asking questions before the content arrives. They're ready for it. And we need to know this data point, we need to know these things, and the kids are all ready for it. And so it's a high level of engagement for all students.
One last thing, and as we look at moving this in some direction, and thanks for the presentation tonight. A couple of questions that I think would be helpful for us at the board level is thinking about it from an implication standpoint of what is the implications of doing this, what are the implications for not doing this, and then what are our options if we were to do this or not do this, so that we have some, that's helpful to be able to react to some various options and what are we looking at if we don't do it, and what are we looking at if we do it.
So Wendy's writing that question down, those
I am.
questions down, and she's on it.
I will be on, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is gonna come back next time for future, correct?
For future,
For
yes.
future.
So just to kind of revisit what I first said, was this tonight was just for information. Because recall a couple months ago, the board asked my department to give more information when we brought a course to you for adoption. Like, what's the cost, give us more specifics. So we thought, just giving you this overview, it went a little bit long, right? I don't mean to be critical, I know you're passionate, but.
How do you do 2 minutes a slide, I promise.
I know. It only went long because of questions.
This is kind of a dream sheet in a way. I mean, it's.
Right, they're important questions, but what I'm gonna tell you is we're also gonna put things in the board packet, give you, the website so you can explore this. I know you won't have to spend much time because it will resonate, you've heard a lot of it. It's, it's hard to boil it down, so I'll stop now, and we will be bringing this back for future action next time. All right, and formalize the process.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you,
if you have any
everybody.
other questions, feel free to email me or give me a jingle, and I'll be happy to sit down and talk with any of you.
Thanks. Thank you.
I didn't hear you.
Second on the agenda under superintendent report tonight, we have Ms. Jennifer Bond, and she's going to talk a little bit about destination imagination.
And if all the Destination Imagination team members and managers can come up. Good. All right. So this year, we had a wonderful opportunity in Brighton to participate in Destination Imagination. So this is the inaugural year as they gave a free registration for any districts that hadn't participated in the program before. This is my 19th year in Destination Imagination as I run the program in Weld Lake, the district that I teach in. And I wanted to give the opportunities to my own children and the students of Brighton. So these are the families that jumped in the mom-to-mom Facebook and all of the PTA Facebook pages. So we have students here that represent Boarding Elementary, Maltby Middle School, and Scranton Middle School. And this upcoming Saturday is the state finals. So I wanted to have this opportunity to give you kind of a sense of DI in hopes that we can grow the program in Brighton So essentially, Destination Imagination allows children to choose a challenge, very open-ended challenge with certain criteria, and allow them to present their solutions at regional tournaments. And then if they make it further, they get to go to states, and they even have a global finals. And with all of these team challenges represent so much of what Joyce was saying with creativity, really engages the creative brain and a lot of STEM and STEAM. Each year there's 7 challenges involving technical, scientific, engineering, fine arts, improv, service learning, and even early learning with our rising stars, the kindergarten through 2nd grade, that are non-competitive. Some of the challenges for this upcoming season of 2018 to 19, just to give you an example of one of the ones, like a technical, you would have to create an aircraft that takes off, flies, and lands while delivering a team-created payload, and create a story about one or more of the characters exploring a remote place. And then they're able to incorporate their own individual talents. And so, for example, we have on one team the Russian language being spoken, we have gymnastics. Some teams will involve their harmony of their songs or something that is their own passion. And so those types of things are scored as well. For the early childhood programs, they have, like this is for next year, they have to create a pop-up book that explores fiction and nonfiction stories, creating and presenting a story that combines the nonfiction and fiction, design and build a technical device, and then create an interactive live pop-up book that they use within their play. And usually the plays are only about 5 to 7 minutes. Every team has about 2 to 7 members on a team, and this goes all the way through university. So even our junior kindergarten kids can participate all the way through high school. And what I found mostly is that these teams really focus on project management skills, life skills, communication skills, and teamworking skills in a very positive way. These teams are led by parents. We have Yulia and Sheila, who are the middle school team managers, and then we have TJ and Allison Smith, who are leading the Horning Maltby team, and they've just been amazing in jumping in headfirst to this whole process. So first up, we have the dogs from Scranton and Maltby, and they participated in a structure building where they had to create a balsa wood structure. And the balsa wood structure had certain criteria. For example, it needed to weigh less than 170 grams, have a diameter of at least 3.5 inches, be between 7.5 and 9 inches tall, and sustain 5 and 10-pound weights being dropped on it from above. And then their score is based on how much it can hold without cracking. Do you want to tell anything more about your challenge?
Our skit was based off of medieval times, and there was a misunderstanding between a king and a Russian lord, and our skit has a lot of humor in it.
It does read like what Monty Python script, so it is really funny. And the next group are the DI Dabbers. They did the Community Outreach Challenge, and Caitlin is going to talk a little bit. No, you're going to talk about that. Yes, you are. Okay. Drew. They're going to tell you about their project. Are you going to say it?
Go ahead, Drew.
You have it right there. Okay. I'll just, do you want to do it?
I'll do it.
Okay, tell them what you did.
We're helping the community by helping the homeless, and we made
Good, because you're all your sound at
we made seasonal bags for and they had like blankets, hand warmers, and stuff for the winter, and we gave them to the homeless, and we had more donations than we thought, so we gave them to another shelter. And the shelters were called Gowanus Center and Elma House.
We got 811 donations altogether, and we made a whole 50 bags.
So with that, it's really neat because this particular challenge had to get them involved in more entrepreneurial business marketing type. So they're getting scored based on the infographics that they had to create an infographic about their community need.
as well as an infographic about their actual project implementation. So it's been really neat to see them. And the fact that both of these teams jumped in mid-January, where most teams were starting in September, October, was huge, that they whipped it together in a short amount of time. And now, if any of you want to just share what you like about DI and tell them why other kids should do it throughout Brighton, this is your time.
I learned that before you ask any of your parents for more, think about the homeless. They don't have that much. I learned that when working as a team, you have to give everyone a chance to speak without being interrupted.
We do instant challenges. An instant challenge is a group project that is created for teamwork, creativity, kindness, and workmanship. Also, we have to finish the challenge in 5 minutes, no matter what, if we are done or not. For example, when we had to build a tower out of materials, all 4 corners had to be touching the tape, able to get all the corners.
I learned that kids can be so generous and kind and make homeless people's lives a little easier. I learned that helping the community feels good and helping others is nice.
Any more?
I learned that you can make many friends through this. I didn't even know these kids until now. Also, it was just a very fun and good experience. We learned that we had to work all together to really complete and make our goals.
So it's my hope that Brighton Schools, and I think it will, just grow in this and turn these 2 teams into teams representing every school here in Brighton, because it is one of those programs that are equivalent to Science Olympiad or the robotics, and it just allows the children to grow in their skills with creativity being at the forefront. So thank you very much.
Another special guest in the audience tonight, Edward Mante from Toyota. He's been around the district for a while now, ever since we redesigned and renovated the Auto Technology Lab, and he's here as Mr. Connolly's guest tonight.
Thank you for having me. Thank you to the board. If I had to give my address, I would say Frisco, Texas now. About 2 years ago, I was transferred from here in Michigan down to Texas when Toyota relocated our headquarters down there. I'm Group Vice President of Engineering. I moved down there to do strategic planning type of job. But I still have 30% of my job back here at our R&D center down in Ann Arbor. And I just wanted to share kind of the importance of the STEM education from an employer and from an engineer's perspective. At Toyota, we have about 1,450 engineers down in Ann Arbor. When we were discussing consolidating our headquarters down in Frisco, or in Plano, we discussed whether engineering should co-locate down there. We decided that didn't make sense because in Southeast Michigan, there's 250 supplier technical centers here in Southeast Michigan. This is the hub of engineering for the automotive industry. And I deal a lot with the automotive industry, but I also work a lot with the Silicon Valley companies. I spent a lot of time in Silicon Valley out in California. And we have a great opportunity here to do engineering and to prepare the automotive industry for the next generation. I'm sure a lot of you know that you read all the time about autonomous vehicles. Well, that is all programming, and that is coming in the near future. The other thing that's coming in the near future is electrification of the powertrains. So by 2025, probably at least 50% of the powertrains in your cars will be electric or hybrid electric powertrain. So that requires people that know motors, inverters, the software to run them. So I appreciate the teachers doing the study for the science and education. That is great. I would just say that of the people that I have seen excel are the people that, as little kids at their schools, they're exposed to robotics program. Robotics is something that the kids do actual programming language as little kids, and they can see their programs actually move and program and execute. So it's that real-time feedback. All those hands-on type of kits that their teachers are talking about, those are essential to get people to understand the physical phenomenons. In the same way, programming, if you're just looking at lines of code and it runs and gives you some type of printout, it's not exciting, but if the kids can see a robot move and stuff, then they can see the application. So it's not just, I know that Brighton has a robotics program at the high school level, but you have to kind of push that down to the lower levels too. And so that's kind of just my quick message this evening, is to don't underestimate the capability that your kids can do, that, you know, they can do a lot of things, so don't dumb it down for them, challenge them. Yes, John?
So we're discussing preparing and building a STEM center that would be connected to our high school initially, possibly one at the middle school level. And I'm listening to your advice, which we've been working on. I believe we have robotics down to the 3rd grade now. Is that correct?
Well, with our STEAM centers, we have robotics really for kindergarten through 4th grade, and Makerspace and Project Lead the Way in our STEAM centers, and also with our enrichment program.
So it's coming, and we're also moving the students from our middle school over to the high school for the higher level classes that we don't offer yet at the middle school. So in the STEM center vision, if you had an empty bowl and you were going to fill it up, what would be your highest priority in building this center, and how would you think it should be used in the community?
Well, I think that you have to have an area of robotics where kids can explore and do hands-on projects. The rapid prototyping or additive manufacturing is something where you can, you know, it's 3D printing. You need to have that 3D printing available, and then have some type of projects challenge kids to make things using the 3D printing, because you can do things, make things that you can't make by traditional machining or injection molding or stuff. So they can make very creative type things. If you want to have creativity, you can do that with the 3D printing.
Laura, did you have a suggestion? You were talking, yes, Mr. Mantee?
Something we talked about earlier?
No. I mean, we've been talking about this, and it's underway. We're going to discuss it again tonight. Is that right, Dr. Gray? About the opportunity for the STEM Center?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We can.
I'd like to get it, like I said, it's time to make it, if we can get closer to that. I think our school system is, I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn on this as far as knowledge, but it appears that we're ahead of the curve significantly when it comes to developing programs and willingness to look at the programs tonight. So do you have, is there any example that you've seen in your travels, you travel all over the world? Is there any examples that you've seen that people?
Well, I honestly, I don't work at this level. I work mostly with universities, and most universities have, like what you're talking about, a area where the students can go down and manufacture stuff and build projects and challenge stuff, and then the teachers will give challenge assignments that they have to go down there and work together as a team at that center. So it's a resource that the teachers should give assignments that the students then can go down there and work together as a team. That's at the kind of the university level that I work with mostly.
You know, we're working right now with a CNC machining company, and actually machines are purchased by the correct factory. Yep. And we are going to be in our engineering CAD classes and doing the design, and we'll be able to transfer that data to the machine centers as well as, I think we visited, we had several 3D printers running. We've expanded on that to a whole area of 3D. Okay, so that makes sense. And again, it's important for our board the challenge out there for the young people, like you said, it's gotta start sooner and look at what's competitive. That's,
So, we saw the young people here. If you were watching the Olympics, Toyota was a sponsor of not only the Olympics but the Paralympics. If you saw a lot of the apparatuses that were engineered for the Paralympics, the era of extra skeletal robots that people can wear and help them out in their mobility, it's coming very quickly. And as we have more and more technology and things like 3D printing, there's some students at some schools that are actually making those in their classes for classmates and stuff. So that's kind of, helping society in a big way.
I appreciate you coming this evening and sharing with us. I know you and I have chatted a little bit. We're really, really proud of what we've been doing K-12, including over here at the Bridge, our alternative high school, and more to come there. But I think we actually kind of got a late start in terms of technology for some financial reasons. So it wasn't until after 2012, 2013, 14 that we really started to come on strong. But I think we've made up for a lot of lost time.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now let's talk to Lucas Carpenter, our student representative.
Hi everyone. Not much going on this week. We have tomorrow, the juniors are doing SAT testing, so they'll be in the building and seniors will not be in the school. That's a big bonus for us. And then we have exec board elections coming up this month, so they started planning for that, started a campaign, we created teams. I stayed after today and a lot of the staff at the high school did, and we listened to some of their speeches the presidents gave, so it sounds like there's going to be a lot of cool ideas coming here, and I'm just excited for the election and everything coming up this month.
Thanks, Lucas. How many days?
For what?
Till the end?
I've been counting, yeah, there's about 60 left, so.
We actually have 31 left.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wait.
My son told me this morning.
Oh, you informed me? Okay. Yeah, well, I'm excited.
Last but not least, I'm going to kick to Dr. Suri for an announcement.
Thank you, Dr. Gray. I think I've been at, I don't know if I've been at 200 board meetings, but I have to tell you, I'm a little nervous right now. So I'm going to read to you instead of talk with you. Is that okay? Might not be a surprise to anyone, but a couple weeks ago I submitted a letter of resignation to Dr. Gray. I'd like to read it to you this evening. Dr. Gray, I'm writing to announce my resignation as Assistant Superintendent of Instruction at Brighton Area Schools effective August 1st, 2018. As you know, changes in my personal life have resulted in a long commute to and from work this past year. Although the district has been extremely supportive of the circumstances, I believe the time has come to make a permanent move. It has been my honor, the honor of my professional life, to serve the students, staff, community, and the Board of Education as a BAS teacher and administrator for the past 17 years. I'm particularly proud of the last 9 years working with you, Dr. Gray, and Dr. Gistinger, a small but feisty group, in leading our district through some of the most challenging times. I've always appreciated their support, patience, and continued belief in my ability to lead, and I will always be grateful, Dr. Gray, to your mentorship and your friendship. Of course, Dr. Gistinger too, but this was a letter to Dr. Gray, so that I should take you, separate you at some point. Okay. And then there's some blah, blah, blah things there, but it's a hard letter to read after a long but exciting evening. I'm really proud of the things we've done in this district. I feel like this is a good time, though, to make a transition in my life because I think I need a couple months to nail some things down, keep us moving in the direction that you've put us in, and the great staff has done all the leadership and all the heavy lifting for. And this evening, of course, is another board meeting without, with its share of controversy, but I have nothing but all faith that we'll work through this as well. And everything that's done in this district, I promise you, is done with the good intentions for the kids. It doesn't mean we don't make mistakes sometimes, but we certainly know how to admit it and correct things and move on. And So it's been a pleasure. I'm not leaving, I'm gonna come to a few more board meetings, and I'll be here through the summer, supporting with whatever you decide to do with it, a new assistant superintendent. And I'm excited for Brighton for new days ahead.
Dr. Sir, you know how I feel about you, you know how the district feels about you, and I'm glad we have some months left. And I would echo your comments about the last 9 years, ups and downs for sure. But we're going to miss you like crazy, like a big sister to me, and appreciate that. So thanks for all your work, your guidance. We wouldn't be where we're at today without you, especially instructionally. So you can walk out of here with your head held high. You did a great job. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate you.
Seriously, it's just been a ride and a half, and that's kind of why I'm choosing now to make that change, because I want to leave kind of on a high note. Like I said, I think things are in a good spot, and now we can hand that baton off to some other leaders, and because you got a lot of great leaders in this district, so good luck.
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Good. So I also, Dr. Suri, thank you very much for your service to this district, and certainly we'll have an appropriate send-off at the right time, so that was not.
That was it. All right, thank you.
Okay, Board of Education bulletins. Item A is safety, or school safety and preparedness. I know Ms. Reed wanted to have some discussion on this as well. One of the things, and I think everybody probably in this room knows how passionate I am about this particular area, since it's what my profession is, and I don't call it a job, I call it a true love of this space. Certainly the parkland scenario and situation was one that really grabbed America once again. We're coming up on the anniversary of Virginia Tech next week, Columbine, and actually, ironically, a variety of other pretty historical events. What I would request of this district, Dr. Gray, and sometime between now and the end of the school year is a presentation of no more than 15 minutes, but just an overview of where we're currently at in our safety and security planning, and where we need to go. And I think that we as a board want to know what is needed moving forward. I know we've talked about doing tabletop exercises in every one of the schools, and I still feel that that is of utmost importance. I'm a firm believer in preparedness, and I don't think we can ever do enough preparedness with our kids at the junior kindergarten level all the way up through the seniors in high school, and it will carry over into the higher education environment. I can tell you firsthand that they live and breathe it every single day, and they're asking incredibly intelligent questions on what we're doing in that space in higher ed. So it is not going away. It's something that we need to make sure that we're putting forth our best efforts and making sure we have the safest and most secure school district here in the area, the state of Michigan, and the country to the best of our abilities. So I think it would be helpful for us to hear a status report. Again, I want to be sensitive to how much time that would take to pull together. I don't want to make it a long, drawn-out process, but I also want to know where we're at currently and what we need to work on moving forward. So that's why it's on the agenda, and I think Ms. Reed has some follow-up questions as well, but that would be appropriate for fitting right into that when you see appropriate between now and the end of the year.
You can do that.
Okay, thank you. Any other?
Yeah, I spoke to Mr. Parks recently, a liaison officer. He's working on a program, the cadet program for middle school. I think we're aware of that. He talked about some potential funding needs and different things, and I haven't seen any writing yet, but it appears it'll be the beginning, kind of a rollout and then expand.
I got the budget today.
You did get the budget.
$11,297.
Okay, so bringing attention to there's a budget. I'd like to get the board support on this as a rollout goes, and maybe just a consensus. The superintendent, he doesn't probably need our approval of this now. I'd like,
We'll build it into the budget.
like the board to be aware of what he's working on. It's a middle school level, correct? And it's going to be the summer, during the summer, correct? And, but I think it's a good initiative that could expand. And I think it goes back to giving something to try. And the board can get behind our liaison officer on this. I appreciate it. So anytime you see him, you can ask him questions potentially, see what we can do to assist him to, make it a better place. But we talk about this, security is obviously a huge issue. This is kind of the beginning from the inside as well. This is an exposure that hasn't happened here, I don't think at all, ever. It's something that you'll be able to bring new things and new ideas. There were programs in the past, and I'm familiar with the DARE program, different things where officers brought things to our schools, but because he's integral to the school, he'll be meeting our students, and he'll also be there when they move up into high school from the middle school. This is a really good concept. Could work out very well, and I believe he's looking at the students again in all facets. It looks promising. So have you seen this curriculum yet as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the layout of the
Program, yeah. So and this has been done somewhere else as well. He's doing some somewhere.
Okay.
So looks promising.
This is the summer program?
Yes.
Was it the same program that was discussed
Yeah.
conceptually?
60 candidates.
Yep.
Field trips, teachings, food.
Good feeling too.
Yeah, I just got the budget from,
So I think it looks like a nice deal. And then, are we in the state here, the education bulletins? Can we talk about Mr. Mante for a second?
Hold on one second. Was there anything else on the safety security, just to make sure to close out the topic? Okay, so, yes, go ahead.
I invited Mr. Mante here tonight. He didn't say who he was, but he is the boss for Toyota North America. If you look at what happened in Saline, he built those facilities, the engineering headquarters. You can research who he was. And we met him by chance. My daughter did an internship with him from Michigan State University. And then I reached out to him, and Dr. Surrey and Dr. Gray, all of us at one time, we were at a point with the building some things in our auto program. And he was very generous to help us from Toyota. Really was one of our first automotive at that level support groups. He came in, and he also sent engineers and people and different things that they did to look at what the high school was doing. And Toyota's position on it was, the way I see it, was mainly, like you said tonight, they really pretty much deal with colleges. But I learned a message from one of our friends, one of his competitors actually from GM. The message from him, from Mr. DeWild, was let's put the opportunity in front of our students. If they want to be a doctor, they want to be a lawyer, they want to do this, they want to do that. That's the job here. And I think Mr. Mante added a lot to our program when he visited. He came and visited the engineering academy, made time. I think he brought his grandson or granddaughter in one arm and carried, and so it was in December. I think the school might have been closed at the time. I don't know.
it was Saturday.
We opened the school so he could come and give us his insight. I know he just got back from Japan. This was a tough one for him to sit there and have to wait. He's probably should be resting, getting ready to go to work tomorrow. He's in Michigan for a few days, then he heads back to Texas. But I would suggest that we look at the opportunities, and that's why I asked him what he had seen. And you heard what he said. He'd seen pretty much only in college level. And I think as we develop things in design, and tonight we'll talk more, I think, a little bit about this STEM center idea. Hopefully, Dr. Gray can cover that up a little bit with a dream sheet. Which a dream sheet doesn't mean it's something that doesn't happen. A dream sheet is something that you think about and you plan it out a year, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. In business, we're required to have dream sheets. It's a requirement. You can't go to the bank and say, by the way, I want to functionally get a loan for $5 million, and they're going to say, for what? You're going to say, well, I think it's going to do this. No, you plan it, and you have a vision, and which the school is doing an excellent job at now. But I would like to incorporate people like Mr. Mante at whatever level they're willing to offer us. They can't offer us necessarily to finance the whole program. At one time, they asked him to buy our whole school and start up a technical center, and he said, we're not in elementary education or middle school or high school. That's not what he does. But we actually talked about it. So the resources that everybody has here, everybody has a contact. So I bring this up. I met him through my daughter, and I was invited to a show in Celine, and I got to meet all these folks, and I had no idea. He walked up and my name's Ed. Didn't know what abilities they had, but I know that those abilities are available to us if we ask. He's here tonight to do that. He was telling you that I think he had 3 children, is that right, Dr. Ray, that went through Brighton schools? Yep. So just by chance, we were going to do, and son of a gun, his kids went through Brighton schools. He has in all different occupations that they're in now. But that's what's good about our community and how much knowledge is here. It's right here. We have to ask though and capitalize on that talent. So that's as we go forward and come up with ideas and things that will work. Similar to these classes that we're talking about tonight, they're exceptional ideas. That's why I asked us what's the proof in the pudding. I had no idea really. I listened, but I didn't hear that we've been running for 2 years. Okay, and piloting and prototyping and doing the things as a technician, which is what I want to hear. That these things have been proven out, that they're going to, the likelihood of success is actually much higher than we just went and bought it and said, here, let's start today. But we had tonight in our boardroom, we have concerned parent, we have our students that are doing well. We have all this going on to make a better place, and I think Dr. Suri put it very well, and I'm going to miss her a lot, that we can work through these things. We face them, work on them, and we fix it. And as a technician, that's been the best thing for me to be involved in our district at this time, is we have fixed things, we haven't just put them under the rug. We've prepared them, the students are benefiting every day by the hundreds. Dr. Ray tells me the thousands. And like I said, we need to continue that same mission, deal with if we have a problem, but deal with these good things and talk about the STEM Center idea and what good it's going to do for the future. The kids we may never meet, but it's going to happen right here. This board can do it. So, thank you.
Any other Board of Education bulletins this evening?
I have a question, and I don't know whether this goes under superintendent report or Board of Education bulletins, but it's a question directed towards Dr. Gray. And I know we've had a national search for a director of human resources, and I was just wondering if you could speak to the process and speak to the status of that search.
Closes Friday. I think I have about 13 candidates presently. I have, I believe, one that I would say is truly in the educational field. I would say the other ones are not. I have some from several states presently. So after Friday, I'll have a better idea of the entire pool and where it lands, and then we'll make a determination if we have a strong enough pool to interview or if we choose to republish.
Okay, so those would be the choices of either the pool is strong enough or we repost and reconsider some.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other Board of Ed bulletins this evening? Okay, that moves us into for action. Item A, regular meeting minutes of March 12, 2018. Do we have a motion to approve? So moved. Moved by Mr. Stahl.
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Chesney. Any discussion?
There was a reference to Mrs. Christ in page 2 of the minutes. Is that Mr.? Page 12 of the
page. Yeah.
He'd appreciate that.
The only other one, Dr. Gray, that this isn't a correction, but did we get an opinion from our attorney on the bereavement piece?
Yeah, we've gotten a couple, one in the past, and we had MASB give us another opinion, and no public funds can go towards anything to purchase for a death of a member of the school community. Okay. That's an illegal expense under that MCL we talked about.
Okay, thank you for checking.
You're welcome.
Okay, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes 5-0. Item B, boiler bid, Dr. Gray.
We're going to recommend that you guys give us the ability to install 3 new boilers at Hawkins beginning after July 1 of this year, and 2 boilers at Brighton High School beginning immediately. If you look at the overall price, our recommendation is with CSM Mechanical, the low bid of $246,460. Peter Bass and Associates were the company that helped us through the process, and our bid specifications were met by a couple of different companies, all of which will in envelop in. The 3 boilers at Hawkins will replace all the boilers we have in that building. That's a 3-boiler system that cycles. High school has 8 boilers and 1 million BTUs apiece. We will be up to 4 replaced boilers at this point, do 2 again next year and 2 the year after that. And then the entire 8 million BTUs at the high school will be all filtered out. We're taking the existing boilers that we're pulling out, and we're going to cannibalize those particular items for parts for the remaining 4 that are still in place. If you recall, all these boilers, they don't run all at once. They cycle through a process that extends the life and gives us better utilization of our glycol and energy systems.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So.
Moved by Mr. Stahl,
Second.
supported by Dr. Chesney. Any discussion? Is there, on the 3 at Hawkins, is there, how old are those?
They're past their livable life. We've been able to keep them running. So
The reason I'm asking is just from a long-term maintenance standpoint.
we're looking at air codes in that building. We've had air codes going in a couple of our other elementaries. We've really had no problems with them whatsoever. We're trying to standardize across the district really to 2 different boilers. At the high school, we've selected lock and bar the last couple of times. That's all 8 of our boilers are lock and bars. The other buildings, we've selected air codes when they fit in terms of the installation, and we really haven't had any problems with either.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes 5-0. Item C, retirements. Dr. Gray.
We'd like to recommend the certified staff retirements of 1 Anne Marie Dovey, 23 years of service to the district. Thomas Kiefer, 30 years service to the district. Anna Nims, 19 years service to the district. Thomas Nisbet, 33 years of service to the district. Kelly Schoen, 36 years of service to the district. Steve Tumser with 32 years of experience, and Sandy Tack with 20 years of experience. I have received 1 other retirement, but we have not had the time to put it on because I just received it this week. But you'll get that at the next meeting. But we'd like to recommend you accept these retirements with appreciation for the hundreds and hundreds of years of service, quality service that these individuals have done for us.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Chesney, supported by Mr. Conley. Any discussion?
It's 193 years. It's amazing. Thank you to all.
Yeah, that's an incredible length of tenure. Almost every one of them is, almost everybody's at 30 years minus 2. So thank you for the tremendous service to this district. And one of them I can thank personally is a great math teacher for me. So pretty cool. All right, all those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any nays? Passes 5-0. Item D, donation Brighton Youth Baseball and Softball Program. Dr. Gray.
We bring before you tonight for action a donation, generous donation from the Brighton Youth Baseball and Softball Program. We recommend that you accept the donation of $50,000 to improve Hawkins Field M. Field M is one of the larger fields, one of the more utilized fields out at Hawkins Elementary. We'll be looking at fencing. We've already redone the dugouts, and general field maintenance will be the remaining portion of that $50,000.
We have a motion to approve. Moved by Mr. Stahl.
Second.
Supported by Dr. Chesney. Any discussion?
A question. It's a very, very generous donation and deeply appreciated by Brighton area schools. But what exactly is Brighton Youth Baseball and Softball Program, and how do they?
Those are our travel league, so
Okay.
softball, baseball programs. Pretty much every sport in Brighton area schools has a travel program of some sort in some capacity. They operate outside of us as their own 501c3, but there are kids that utilize our fields and play under the auspices of Brighton area schools.
Okay.
Andrew, I know I've been part of some of the discussions with them. This kind of will help them bring some of that back here. We don't have to go outside these other buildings.
Very nice.
We have a long-range plan to attack each and every field out there, and then, you know, as we look at other revenue-generating items as a district, we also are looking at a possible clover relief 4-field system that would fit nicely in there as well, and up the utilization for all of our kids, baseball and softball.
What does, I mean, that is a significant donation. What does that do for a field? What does one do?
get you fencing, and a little bit of dirt,
Okay,
primarily.
okay.
Fencing's very expensive, but we've also found that, as you look at the fencing we replace, if you don't replace the fencing with good fencing, you're replacing it 5 to 7 years down the road. The vinyl coated, the thickness of the vinyl, the layout of the fencing, the step bar on the bottom that holds the fencing in place are all pieces that might increase the cost, but they are well utilized longevity-wise for our fencing. So.
And that all of that construction will be with the foresight of the future plans for the
So
program.
we already have a long-range plan for that. It falls within our 5-year facility renewal plan. It's a utilization of Hawkins, and we actually already have the drawings, and we have everything already done. We've actually bid all the fencing out there, but all the fencing is about $275,000. And so we're kind of ticking it away a little bit at a time as we go.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, all those in favor of accepting this donation from Brighton Youth Baseball and Softball Program with appreciation, signify by aye. Aye. Any nays? Passes 5-0. Okay, that takes us out of for action and into for future action. Item A, donation horning therapy dog. Dr. Craig.
We'll be recommending in a couple of weeks to accept the following donations that constitute a total amount that will bring a therapy dog to Horning Elementary School. Marcia Oates, $1,500 on behalf of her son who passed away. She's a teacher at Horning Elementary. The Oginski family of $2,900. The Surdu family, of $3,000. And the San Angelo Plumbing LLC of $1,500. All of these gifts or grants that we have been able to put together have allowed us to acquire the dog for that building. We are dangerously close to having a dog for every single building. So I think the last one we're working on is Miller Intergenerational Center, and then we will be fully staffed with our pooches. So it'll be great.
Awesome.
We bring our dogs to work. You were counting ours in there, right?
I need therapy from your dog.
Item B, open swim, VHS pool.
So we had a discussion at the facilities committee. There's only one member here. Both Alicia and Bill are not. We did share some information in terms of utilization. We based the utilization because we could count it based on revenue. I don't know if you want to discuss it tonight or wait till the next meeting when the other two are back. It's up to you.
We can table until they're back. That's
We'll keep it under for future action?
Okay.
Okay.
It's fine.
One question about that?
Yeah.
Have we ever implemented, and I recommended this, any kind of scan card system in the swimming pool so that we can keep very explicit head count of who's coming in and who's coming out?
So we have had count. We actually do it in writing. So if you take a look at our breakdown in terms of sheets, and this is the information that I'll provide you eventually.
Okay.
We have every single person, every single day that comes and goes from our facility logged.
How do we know that? They're just checking on a sheet of clipboard?
They check in every day. We have sign-in sheets.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, item C, Neola policy, first reading, or policies.
Yeah, so every couple of years, usually every year, there's a technology portion of the updates to our policies. 75, 40.03, 04, 05, and 06 are all similar in nature. Dr. Turner has taken the liberty of writing you a kind of a general outline before each policy. My suggestion is to take some time, read it over the next couple of weeks, and if you have questions, let me know. We pretty much are right now, but obviously these policies change over time, and we have to adapt our acceptable use policies in the district to align with them.
Perhaps this is directed towards Dr. Turner, but what are the substantive changes in the policy?
You might as well just stay up there too, because the next two items are yours.
In my reading, Dr. Gray and I collaborated on this. In my reading, it seems to be just an update to change verbiage on, adapting to more modern language related to technology. It really seems to be substituting phrase A for phrase B. There's some modernization in terms of acceptable use policies. There's some social media updates. That's my summary of it.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions? Okay, item D, disposal, recycling technology equipment.
We have a policy of 7310 that tells us we have to bring stuff before you when we dispose of it. Dr. Turner, again, has put together a nice facts and statistics sheet for you, as well as pictures that are subsequent to the actual board report that kind of align with what we're looking to dispose of or recycle. And if you have specific questions, feel free to ask.
Where is this?
Somehow I get to be the lucky recipient of all of the district's trash. And so somehow people talk the courier into just bringing it to our space. And we have a tech room over at the high school library.
Okay.
There's a tech office, and then behind it is a secure storage space. And many of those pictures were taken in that secure storage space. I can leave for a week and not be in there, and then all of a sudden the room is full again. So I know that the courier was at work placing items in there, and then it's our job to dispose of them.
Okay. And when we're disposing of things, the deep monitors, the kind of old style television monitors, I know sometimes those have toxins in the tubes, and we dispose of everything per EPA policies.
So much of my email spam traffic is recycling companies. They're clamoring for our stuff.
Okay.
What I've noticed is they'll take on the CRT monitors, like the big old tube TVs,
right,
and the old tube CRT computer monitors. They'll take those on because they want to get our disposed of photocopiers or computers, because they take the bad with the good. Is in essence. Sometimes we can enjoy like a small check in repayment for what we provide to the recyclers, and sometimes it's just a wash.
Okay.
And as the report says, we do a data scrub on anything that has a hard drive. Computers, tablets, and photocopiers have hard drives too, and we scrub those before we dispose of them.
That was my next question.
Yes, we're concerned with data privacy as well.
Do we do anything, or is any of this worth offering to an at-risk district as an example?
The contents of that room, everything in that room is not saleable. It's all inoperable.
Okay.
We sell stuff